Hello everyone, welcome to the another lecture series on ARM microcontroller and embedded systems with a subject code of 17EC62. So in the last lecture we have learnt about the characteristics of an embedded system as well as operation attributes of an embedded system. So the characteristics of embedded systems define us what should be the characteristics of a device, what is going into a larger system or a smaller system, or it might be a own system what is designed. So the characteristics which will define where the distributed system, it should operate in a harsh environment, it should operate in higher temperature environment or higher lower temperature environment. And we have seen what is called as application or domain specific. That means it should be operated for one specific application. And we have seen that the embedded system should be reactive and real time. It should be operating with a harsh environment. It operates in a distributed environment, and it should have a small size and less weight. And it should be power concerned with respect to the power dissipation and power utilization and the heat dissipation. So what happens is all these were the characteristics of an embedded system, and we have seen the operational attributes that are reactive, reliability, then safety, security, and we have seen what is called as maintainability. That means whatever are there in an online mode, they are called as operational quality attributes. So today in the present lecture, we'll see what are the non-operational attributes of an embedded system. Non-operational attribute means it should be operating in a offline mode. Offline mode in the sense that when it is not in a active mode. So the non-operational attributes of an embedded system, that is when the product is not on the basic operational aspects. So the quality attributes of this particular section are testability and debuggability, evolvability, portability, time to prototype and time to market, per unit, and total cost. These are the five main attributes of a non-operational embedded system. Then what happens is we'll see the first one, that is testability and debuggability. Testability means how easily we can test it, and debuggability means how easily we can debug it. So the testability deals with how easily one can test the design or application, by which means you'll be using you will be testing it. For an embedded product, the testability is applicable to both the embedded hardware and embedded firmware. So both needs to be tested for the correct operation of the embedded system. If it is working fine, then the it will be given to the fabrication process. Then the second part of this attribute is debuggability. Debuggability means it is debugging the product. That means how easily or how best we can debug the product, that is debuggability. So here what happens is, if it creates an unexpected behavior, then it needs to be debugged. So debuggability has two types of debugging. One is called hardware level debugging, and the second one is firmware level debugging. Hardware level debugging means whenever we are figuring out the issues created by the hardware problems or hardware devices, then we call it as a hardware level debugging. Whereas when we are checking out or when we are figuring out the probable errors that appears in a flowchart or in a firmware, then we call it as a firmware debugging that will be employed. So this is the first non-operational quality attribute that needs to be addressed by an embedded system. Then the second one is evolvability. Evolvability means it is a term which is closely related to biology. When we say that, this is it is also referred as a non-heritable variation. The non-heritable variation, that means for an embedded system, the quality attribute evolvability refers to the ease with which the embedded product can be modified to take the advantage of new firmware and new technologies. That means we have already generated and we will be giving a output. Once it is done, then what happens is, if I am changing it or if I am upgrading it, then how best can it be used? That is what is evolvability of a embedded system. Then the third one is portability. Portability, we know that, portability, we know that whenever we are changing the platform of a embedded system, then it should be portable, it should be easy to use. So whenever we try to do this, it will be generating an output that is a portable embedded system. The portable embedded system is actually defined as a system independence, whether I'm using a microprocessor, whether I'm using a microcontroller, or I'm using a ASIC or a DSP processor, then it should be providing me a better output. So to have this one, what is my ability in the embedded system? That is what is called as portability. So every time the portability needs to be checked for every embedded system. So it defines how best my embedded device can upgrade itself whenever we port it from one platform to another platform, because as the processor becomes older and older, newer versions of the processor will come, and one or the other user or one or the other component what is generated inside the embedded system may be required to upgrade itself. In that particular cases, what happens is, we will be going in for this particular capability where we shift the embedded system's base, that is its hardware, its software, that can be upgraded. Say for example, I'm using a microprocessor called 8085, which will be upgraded to 80286 or 80386. At that time, I need to be changing some part of my hardware so that I'll be generating a better output. So this is a hardware variation. If we look into various programming languages for application development for desktop applications, we'll see that certain applications developed on certain languages run only on specific operating systems, and some of them run independent of the desktop operating system. So this type of firmware we need to develop so that we will be generating a output for a platform independent embedded system. So this is what is a base for the portability. So the portability deals with every time we change the processor or a controller, we need to be recompiling the program. That means we are not generating a target processor, target specific applications or target specific functions. We are generating an output that is target processor independent, and once I change the target processor, I'll be recompiling it and I'll be producing a better output. Then the next attribute is time to prototype. Time to prototype and time to market is time to market is the time elapsed between the conceptualization of a product and the time at which the product is ready for selling. So what happens is, the commercial embedded system product is highly competitive, and the time to market of the product is a critical factor in a success of the commercial embedded product. That means there may be multiple players in an embedded industry who develop products of the same category. If you come up with a new design and if it takes too long to develop and market it, then the competitor product will will get an advantage, and it will be selling with a higher price. So whenever we talk about prototyping, or whenever we talk about time to marketing, prototyping means it is an informal kind of rapid product development in which the important features of the product under consideration are developed. That means the time to prototype is another critical factor. So prototyping is nothing but we are miniaturizing the actual product and will work with that particular prototype. If it works, then the actual model will be generated and then it will be released to the market. Then, if the prototype is developed faster, the actual estimated development time can be brought down, and we will be, in order to shorten the time to prototype, we will make use of all possible options like will you make use of the off the shelf components, reusable assets, and so on. So the actual motto here is we need to be generating a prototype soon, and the all testing and debugging whatever we need to do, that will be done on a prototype, and the maximized version of the prototype, that is the actual embedded system, will be coming to the market within no span of time. So if the product comes out to the market in a lesser time, then it will be gaining more and more amount of values. Then the last last attribute is called as per unit cost and per unit volume. Per unit cost and per unit volume, it means that whenever we generate an embedded system, we know that cost is a factor always. So cost is a factor which is closely monitored by both the end user. That means those who buy the product as well as the product manufacturer. So cost is a highly sensitive factor for commercial products. Any failure to position the cost of the commercial product at a nominal rate may lead to failure of the product in the market. Proper market study and cost benefit analysis should be carried out before taking a decision on the per unit cost of the embedded system. For a designer or a product development company perspective, the ultimate aim of the product is to generate marginal profit. So the budget and the total system cost should be properly balanced to provide a marginal profit. So every embedded product has a product life cycle which starts with a design and development phase. The product idea generation, prototyping, roadmap definition, actual product level, and actual product design and level phase. So this development phase are the activities that needs to be carried out during this process. So per unit cost and per unit revenue, they are defined and they will be respected with they will be dealt with respect to how best I decide the cost of my embedded product. So every time what happens is whenever we decide a product per unit cost, then it should be consisting of the NRE, that is non-recurring cost, as well as the budget, what they have involved, what is involved in the manufacturing of that particular embedded product, and so on. So this per unit cost will be decided wisely so that it is sticking in the market and it will be generating a better output. So the with respect to this only, we have a figure. This figure tells us that this is actually a product life cycle curve. This product life cycle curve tells us that it has different phases. One is product development, product introduction, product growth, product maturity, product retirement. And there are three curves. One is called unit cost, and second one is product sales, and then profit. During product development, there is no profit as well as there is no unit cost. When you introduce a product, at that time we'll decide a unit cost, and then it goes on. It remains same in the introduction phase. In the growth, it goes on maintaining the same level. Then when the product is mature, that means the customers are well versed with the product, then it slightly decreases. And at the age of product retirement, that means when it has reached a particular level, then it goes on decrementing. Whereas the product sales, what we have during the introduction part, the product sales will be less, and as it matures, as it grows and then matures, it will be having a maximum sales. Then when it is reaching a product retirement phase, then the as product sales will be decrementing. And you can see that the profit means it is less than zero, because it is negative in the product introduction, because none of the customer will be knowing the things about the product introduction, so you will not be having profit in the initial phase of introduction. Then after that, as the product grows, you will be having a increment in the profit. And when it reaches product maturity, at that time the amount of profit slightly decreases, and during the product retirement stage, the profit will be too less, and it becomes zero before the product retirement. So this is what is the product life cycle from the product development to the product retirement. So this tells us about the different stages of the product life cycle and the revenue and its unit cost, profit in each stage. And then you'll be seeing what happens at the time of product development, product introduction, growth, product maturity, and then product retirement. So from the graph, we see that the total revenue increases from product introduction stage to the maturity, and then the revenue will be peaking at the age of maturity stage, and it starts falling in decline or retirement stage. So this tells us that the non-operational attributes of the embedded system, which will be operated in a offline mode. So the revenue of a commercial embedded system will always be high at the maturity stage. So this is what we have for today's lecture. We'll meet in the next lecture. Thank you.